Okay, hopefully this little short video will give you some idea about the concept of periodisation of training. Up here at the top is the picture that I've just taken directly from the syllabus. This is everything you need to know about periodisation of training. That's on there. You also need to be able to apply this concept of periodisation of training to some of the components of fitness that we've looked at recently, including strength, aerobic capacity and flexibility. I'll kick off with just some of these key terms. Hopefully you should know what some of these key terms are now. It's vital that you do because they form the first part of this concept of periodisation. Periodisation of training is when, as a coach, you break your training down into different cycles. You have a macro cycle, which is about a year-long, long-term training plan, such as winning a championship or a personal best at a big competition or event. That macro cycle is broken down into smaller mesocycles. They last about 4 to 16 weeks. And depending upon the phase of training that you're in, there'll be a different focus on that within the mesocycle. It could be to build up strength, could be to build up aerobic capacity, could be to build up speed. Finally, microcycles. Microcycles are the really small training plans, maybe 1 to 3 weeks, short-term goal. For instance, perfecting your sprint start or something really specific to your game, working on line out, working on your scrum if this was a rugby performer. And the microcycles make up the mesos. Okay, also what you have is this concept of phases within periodisation of training. You can see these down here at the bottom. Now, the design of each mesocycle will depend upon the phase of training a performer is actually in. We have 3 main seasons within the periodised year. The first season or phase, if you like, is across here. This is the preparation phase. Now, some of these terms like off-season and pre-season will hopefully be familiar to you, but the basic purpose of the preparation phase is during the off-season, we sort of look at our general conditioning, build up a bit of a base that we can then build upon during pre-season. During pre-season training, progressive overloads the focus. We increase the intensity of training to get ourselves ready for the actual competition phase. Now, the competition phase is the season itself. So if you're an athlete, it might be 2 or 3 months of athletics competitions. If you're a footballer, it's obviously a lot longer. If you're a rugby player, it's the concept of the whole season itself. Now, within this competition season, this is the time of the year where you're basically looking to maintain your fitness that you've developed across here in the preparation phase, avoid injury, focus on developing strategies, tactics. And there's some key words that happen in these competition phases. They split it here into 3 and 4, or the 2 are really combined, but during these competition phase, what you're really trying to ensure about is that you're competition ready. So in other words, you're ready for game day, you're ready for competition day. And you do this, you achieve this peak performance, but one of the ways is by a process known as tapering. Now, this tapering tends to happen sort of in the competition phase 4, where we reduce the training load gradually to ensure that the performer is fully recovered with maximum fuel stores so that they can peak in time for the game itself. Finally, we have this transition phase. Active rest and recovery happens here. Low intensity work. And this is getting yourself ready again for the season to begin for the preparation phase. Okay, so basically all of these phases here are mesocycles, and the design of each of them will depend, like I've said, very much on the athlete. A boxer will be different to an athlete. An athlete will be different to a footballer and a rugby player. Finally, just want you to have a little look. I'll just minimise these so you can see it hopefully a bit clearer in the video. There's a great little article here from the Times about how England Rugby Union team have used periodisation of training to help prepare for the Six Nations. I want you to try and just focus on these 2 paragraphs that are here, which Eddie Jones, the coach, talks about how each day we have a specific area that we're going to look at, and how periodisation of training helps them make the training as realistic as possible to the game day. So you can actually see a real benefit of periodisation. So just to summarise then, periodisation is used to allow the performer to give them structure to the training, to give them realistic and achievable goals, to allow them to reach their peak at the correct time. It allows them to taper down so that they avoid injury, avoid burnout, and be as physically best prepared as possible for the game itself.